Hey guys, it's Alexis, aka The Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to film a video all about the 2017 book-to-movie, book-to-TV adaptations that I am excited for. I'm hoping to read the books before I see the movies. There's a good chance I won't see all of these movies in theater, but they sound interesting enough that I would be interested in them. And I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to read the book before all of these come out because there's a lot of them coming out in like March, April, and May that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to prepare for. I've already started on preparing for some of them, but I'm not making a promise that I'll be able to get to every single one. That's just not possible. But I'll go ahead and just tell you guys what it is. If I have the book, I'll hold it up and I'll definitely give you the tentative release date for whenever the adaptation starts. The first one I'm going to talk about is one that has of course already premiered, and that was Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events on Netflix, and that one came out January 13th on my birthday. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, and I actually read the first 4 Lemony Snicket books in January to prepare for the TV series because the TV series follows the first 4 books. And I only watched the first episode, so I don't really have an opinion yet, but I love the way it's filmed. I think it's very, very much like a Wes Anderson film, and I really like that. But yeah, obviously this follows the 3 orphan Baudelaire children as they escape the clutches of Count Olaf, who is trying to steal their family fortune. And each book kind of has its own separate storyline, and so every 2 episodes in the TV series kind of has its own separate storyline. And like I said, I watched the first episode, I thought it was good, but I'll refrain from making an opinion until I get to watch the rest of it. Next is Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This comes out on HBO, I believe on February 19th. I've actually already started reading this one because this is a book I've been wanting to read for a long time, so this was the perfect opportunity to pick it up. The TV show features Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Shailene Woodley, and it's basically, the book's set in Australia, but I believe they moved the TV show to America, but it's basically about these 3 moms who all have children in like daycare or who are like just starting school, like kindergarten, and it's basically about the drama that they all encounter in this small, like really rich town where there's like politics of this like kindergarten community and stuff. And like I said, I'm like 120 pages into the book and I'm really liking it so far. And I really have liked the trailers I've seen of the TV show, so I'm very, very excited for that to finally premiere so I can watch it. The next one is a movie that's coming out on March 3rd, and that is Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. This was one of the books on my 15 books to read in 2017 list, mainly because the movie was coming out this year and this was Lauren Oliver's first book and I hadn't read it yet. So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to do it. This follows a young girl named Sam who gets in a car accident, and instead of dying, she wakes up reliving the same day that she died over and over and over again. And she comes to find out that small changes make, different outcomes of the story, but I guess she ultimately still ends up dying at the end of every day, so she's trying to figure out, why is she continuously coming back, and, what does it mean, and how can she stop it, that kind of thing. So I've liked all of Lauren Oliver's works that I've previously read, so again, this is her first book, so I'm excited to delve in and see her debut novel. The next one is a book I'm not sure I'm going to get to before the movie comes out, but it still definitely sounds very interesting to me, and that is The Zookeeper's Wife. This comes out on March 31st. I'm not sure who the novel is by, I should have looked that up, I'm sorry. But this is basically based on a true story about this zookeeper and his wife who snuggled Jewish people out of Nazi Germany. I always feel like I take something out of reading books about World War II that is my preferred historical fiction era, and I really enjoy learning more and more new information about that time period in classes and stuff. I've had like 4 whole classes that just centered on World War II when I was in school, and yeah, it's a time period that I enjoy learning about because I always feel like I learned something from it, and so I'm sure that this book will be another narrative that I'll absolutely love, especially considering that it is a true story, and it'll be very inspirational, and yeah. So I don't know if I'll get to the book before the movie comes out, probably not. The next one is another Netflix series that is premiering, and that is Jay Asher's 13 Reasons Why, and it also premieres, I believe, on March 31st. The only thing I know about the TV show adaptation is that it's produced by Selena Gomez, but this tells the story of a boy named Clay, and he basically receives this box full of, like, cassette tapes, and they're sent to him from this girl named Hannah who had previously committed suicide, I believe, like a couple of months beforehand, and Clay has had a crush on Hannah. So he's like, what is this box? So he starts listening to him, and he realizes that these are tapes that she's sent to all of the people who she blames for her decision to commit suicide, and Clay is just trying to figure out why he's on this list. He liked this girl, he doesn't remember doing anything bad to her, so he's listening to these tapes trying to figure out what's going on. I read this book when I was, like, in the 7th grade, I think. This was the book to read when I was in middle school. Like, no kidding, they had to order, I think, like 3 copies of this book to our school library because everybody was reading this book. And I just went out and bought my own copy because I'm a scrub, so, but yeah, this was like the book to read when I was in middle school, so it's literally been like 10 years since I've read this book. And I guess I still remember it pretty well, but I'm excited to see the Netflix adaptation and see how it's handled because it is a fairly dark book and it does feature a touch of graphic content in it, so I'm excited to see how Netflix adapts this. The next one is a book I haven't read yet, but a book I definitely want to read before I see the movie, and that is Wonder by R.J. Palacio that comes out on April 7th. I've just heard so many wonderful things about this book, and so I definitely do want to read it. I'm going to try to rent it from my library before the movie comes out. But this is the story of a boy named Augie who has a facial deformity, and he's, I believe, going to school for the first time, and so it's basically about that for him and the different people he encounters, and I believe a story is told from everyone's point of view but Augie's, or maybe Augie's point of view plus also other people's, like his classmates and like his sister or something like that, and it's like everybody around Augie dealing with the things Augie's dealing with, and you know, I love books that are interestingly written in that way. And so I've just heard wonderful things about this book, and it is middle grade, so I'm not worried it'll take me forever or anything like that, so yeah, I'm super excited to get to it and see, you know, how many times I'm gonna cry, because I'm probably gonna cry a lot. The next one is a movie that comes out on April 28th, and that is The Circle by Dave Eggers. This is basically about, like, a company that has fused all of our online identities into one one account in this like international network, and they like monitor everything, and they like link your social media accounts, your bank accounts, you know, your Shutterfly accounts or whatever. They like link them all together so that you're one person in this mega network. That's like the basic thing, and like this girl gets hired to work there, and it's like her dream job, but she kind of steadily figures out that something's not right, something weird's going on. The movie stars Emma Watson, and yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited about the premise of it. It seems like a very, very good, I guess it's a thriller for the modern age. And so I'm hoping to potentially read this book in April if I can get a copy from the library. Not making any promises, I probably won't be able to read it before the movie comes out, but it does definitely sound interesting enough that I would want to read the book eventually. The next one is one that is going to be a Hulu series coming out on April 26th, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. You guys know I've talked about this book in like 50 videos that I am super pumped to read this one. And this is basically about a society where women's only purpose is to reproduce, and it follows our main character Offred, who is basically meant to be the mother of this ranking official's children. And I've heard that it's like, a lot of people describe it as like a super feminist dystopian, and so that's all my boxes right there. Everyone else go home. And so I'm very, very excited to finally read this one. And the Hulu series stars Elizabeth Moss, and a bunch of other really well-known people that, like, when I heard that they were all starring in this, I was like, yes! Yes! So I'm very, very excited for this adaptation, and let's just say that April can't come fast enough. The next one is a book I definitely know I won't be getting to before this premieres sometime in April, just because the book is huge, and it's a big book, but I'm very, very excited for the adaptation. I'm not sure which network this television show will be premiering on. I will link it somewhere on the screen if I find it, but that is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. The cast for this looks incredible. From what I've seen, I really, really liked the special effects that they've done. It stars the dude who played Lincoln in The 100, and I'm here for anything he's in, okay, let's be honest. And so, yeah, so I mean, I know that this is a very, I've never read anything by Neil Gaiman, so I would be very interested to read this, possibly not before the TV show premieres, but later on in the year. But I'm definitely excited to watch the TV show. I want to say it might be Stars, I'm not sure, but I'm very excited to check it out when that eventually premieres. The next adaptation is going to be a movie, and that is going to be The Diner by Herman Cook, and that premieres on May 5th. This is another book that I'm not sure I'll get to before the movie comes out, but it sounds interesting enough that I would want to read it eventually. It's basically about these two families who are coming together over the course of a dinner, and they're dealing with something that their 15-year-old sons have done. And it's like this heinous crime that they've committed or something, and it's the family trying to deal with it over the course of a dinner. And I really like books that are kind of like that are written over like a span of a short amount of time, because it usually means that they're usually pretty fast moving because there's a lot to get to in a short time frame. But it sounds interesting enough that I would be willing to check it out, and the movie stars Richard Gere, and I am kind of a huge Richard Gere fan, so that was pretty much enough for me to be interested in the movie, but it sounds interesting enough, and I'm hoping that I'll get to read the book eventually. Next is a movie I'm very, very excited for, and that is the movie for Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, which comes out on May 19th. I'm not going to give you guys a ton of details because I'm sure you've all heard all about this book, and Amanda Steinberg's in it, and of course Everything Everything tells the story of a girl named Maddie who is basically allergic to everything, and so she can't go outside, but she kind of starts to fall in love with this boy next door through like window conversations, and it's basically about like the two of them kind of trying to be together despite Maddie's illness. And I loved this book. I love Nicola Yoon. She's a fantastic author in my opinion, and so I'm very, very excited to see what they do with this movie. The next one is Valerian, which comes out on July 21st. All I know is that this is about like futuristic time travel, and it stars Cara Delevingne, I can't ever pronounce her last name, and Dane DeHaan, and they're basically these like time travel agents who go back in time to like stop a bad guy or something. That's what the original comic book is about, so I'm assuming the movie is going to be similar. I'm gonna be honest, the only reason I'm excited for this movie is because Dane DeHaan's in it, and I love Dane DeHaan. I've loved every single movie he's been in, or I've at least really loved his, like, acting in every movie he's been in. So when I heard he was gonna be in this movie, I was like, well, I mean, I'll red box it when it comes out, so. But it looks interestingly enough, and I love sci-fi in movies and TV, so I am excited to see how that's all handled, and it seems like it might be good. The next one is the first, I guess, in a series of movies. I thought it was going to be a TV show, but evidently it's a series of movies, which I didn't know. And that is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. The first one premieres on July 28th, and it stars Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. And so the first one is going to be called The Gunslinger. And I'm very excited to read this. I've heard a lot of people, it's like a fantasy sci-fi western, which, you guys know me. That's like 3 of my favorite genres all in one place. So I'm very excited to read this. This will actually be my first Stephen King when I get to it eventually. And the movie stars Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba, so that's, I mean, even if I wasn't planning on reading this, I'd still go see that because Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba, one of the sexiest men alive, so just saying. The next one is a book called A Mountain Between Us, which comes out sometime in October, and this also stars Idris Elba, so there you go, there's my motivation for wanting to see it. But it's basically about two people who I think are like in a plane and it crashes and they like have to survive together. And I'm not sure if this book takes place after the plane crash and it's about like them afterwards, or if it takes place during the plane crash. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I'll read this book at all, to be honest, or if I'll read it maybe after the movie, if the movie is interesting enough to me. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm just interested because Idris Elba, so. The final one on my list is a book that's not set to come out until November, and it's set to star Johnny Depp in some role, and that is The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I love Agatha Christie. I've actually already read this book, but I'm planning to hopefully reread it before the movie comes out, because it doesn't come out until November, so I'm hoping to reread this sometime in prep, because I haven't read it in like 10 years. When I was like in when I was in middle school, I was like on a huge Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes kick, where it's like all I read was like old school mysteries. So I haven't read it since then, so it's been a long time. But I am really excited to kind of see this portrayed in film. This is one of Agatha Christie's, I would say, most popular works. And it's really good, and so yeah. If you've never read anything by Agatha Christie, this might be a good place to start, just because the movie is coming out. And it's a fun time like all of her murder mysteries are. That sounds terrible. Look, you always have a good time, okay? Murder mysteries by Agatha Christie are always a good time. Alright guys, so those were basically all of the book to movie, book to TV adaptations that I'm excited for coming out in 2017. There's a ton more that are coming out this year than what I mentioned. I will actually leave, Books and Lala actually does a video where she lists all of the 2017 movie adaptations. I'll actually link her video down below in case you want a more extensive list. This is just the list of the ones that I'm personally very excited for. If you're excited for any of these, or if you want to know more about any of these, or, anything like that, just let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the end of the video.